Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. All right, Shalom, it's Brother Kanak. Let's see Annapolis Camp. I want to start by giving all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Kakodash, the waters, our apostle, elders, the great millstone that teach rule well. Peace, blessings, safety, and hope for like pushing this truth week in, week out, sincerity, charity, and love, and the spirit of Yahweh Shai, throughout the four corners of the earth. All right, I'm just going to go into this is a response video to a guy saying there's no way he's an Israelite. You know, he's Jake. You know, I had a video, but I watched it, you know, on one of the elders' pages. You know, there's no way I could be Israelite. I'm a messenger of Christ and all these things, man. And people that believe it is going off and they wrong. All right, but these are just a few scriptures to, you know, to edify the body, man. It says, we started Romans 8 and 16. It says, the Spirit itself bears witness with our spirit that we are the children of Yahweh. All right, so the spirit of an Israelite, all right, the spirit gonna work with us, man. All right, that we know that we are the children of Yahweh Shem Shai, man. All right, it's a spiritual thing, you know. This dude, he doesn't have any spirituality. You know, he's doing a lot of talking, but he doesn't know what he's talking about. You know, he got a lot of murmuring to say about the scriptures, but he has no understanding of the scriptures. You know, it says that if children then joint heirs of Yahweh and joint heirs with a Mashiach, if so, then we suffer with him that we may be glorified together. Right, man. So that's why we go through a lot of suffering on this side, even the verbal suffering, man. You know, with this dude talking shit, you know, about the so-called Israelites, man. You know, the slander, you know. And we go through it on a very high basis, not just with this cat, but with so-called family members. You know, everybody has some he say, she say something to say about the Israelites, man. So we're gonna go through a lot of, you know, persecution and suffering, you know. But you know, this is just to edify the body, man. Because if you understand, then you understand. You know, if it's for you, you know, you have an understanding of it. But it's clear that this thing is not for this dude. All right, this is Romans chapter 10 and verse 10. It says, "For I bear them record, they that have a zeal of Yahweh, but not according to knowledge." All right, and that's what this dude has, man. All right, he has a zeal of knowing that, you know, some things about Yahweh Shem Shah, but he don't have a zeal of knowledge. He don't have an understanding of these scriptures. All right, he think he know what he's talking about, but he doesn't know what he's talking about. But he know he's supposed to follow the Lord, you know, and that's all our people. You know, that's why people draw, you know, to the scriptures, you know. Our people really can't draw away from that spirit. All right, but he's missing the spirit of knowledge. It says, "For they being ignorant of Yahweh righteousness and going about establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of Yahweh." Right, that's what he said. He gonna do his whole thing. He got this own thing going, you know. He's doing his own righteousness, man. You know, coming up with his own doctrine of Yahweh Shem Shai. That's exactly what's going on, man. You know, and the Lord is not dealing with that, man. You know, let's go bring a few scriptures out. You know, to you know, this dude is like, you know, he's out of order, man. You know, this is Matthew chapter 15 and verse 8. It says, "The people draw nigh unto me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me." Right, and that's this guy, man. With the so-called Steve Harvey lineup. You know, oh, I look good today. Vain. Vain and glory. You know about itself. I look good today. I got a haircut. I did this. I did that. All right. Not knowing that we don't do videos to look good in videos. We're not doing videos that we may be the center of the show. You know, we're doing videos that the Lord may be glorified, man. All right, and that the people be edified by our videos. It's not about the show and tell of how good we look, or how good our facial hair looks, or how good or how clean we are. All right, we're not worried about that, man, because none of that's going to matter. All right? It says, "But in vain do they worship me, teaching doctrines, the commandments of men." All right? And so in vain are you doing this thing, talking about you a messenger. You know where you be an Israelite because you don't have no understanding. You can't even get away from being an Israelite, dude. All right, that's why all Israel is not Israel. All right, there's no way you can even get away from this thing, man. All right, being an Israelite is not a religion, man. All right, you think you know something when you don't know a damn thing. All right, and what are you doing, man? You're out there making a fool of yourself. All right, thinking you coming up against us, but once again, man, we tell people all the time, man. All we doing is speaking the words that are in the book, the words of Yahweh Bashim Shai. So when you come up against us, you're bucking up against the Lord. All right, you're not totally bucking up against us. We bumping up against Yahweh Bashim Shai, man. All right, we're gonna jump to the book of Jeremiah. Uh, just a second. We're gonna jump to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1 and verse 5. It says, "Before I formed thee, I knew thee in the belly, and before I came forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee and ordained thee to be a prophet among the nations." All right, so you said we don't know what we talk about. All right, our spirit is subject to the word because the Lord had already ordained us to be prophets, man. It was already in our spirit. The scripture says the spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet. So we the same thing we're doing now, we were doing in the past life, and that might even be too much to go over your head, because you might not even have any understanding of it as well. All right, but the Lord already ordained us, man. All right, that's why we go out on the highways and byways. This is my sheep shall hear my voice. Right now you're probably not a part of the Lord's sheep. All right, and what's going to happen with you, man? You know, because you're not a part of this thing. I'm gonna, because this thing is not for everybody, man. You know, it says, uh, 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 it says it shall come. I'm starting Zechariah 13 and verse 8. It said it shall come to pass then all the land, saith the Lord, two parts therein may be cut off and die, and the third shall be left therein. All right. So the Lord's on 2/3. That's 2/3 of our people. You Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You so-called dudes like that guy who swears up and down that he's not an Israelite. Guess what? You're gonna die and perish in the day of the Lord, man. You know. All right, because the Lord is not slack concerning His promise. You know, people always got something to say, but don't have a solution. People always got something to say, uh, 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 but don't have no understanding of the scriptures. I brought this out because he was quoting Paul, but he quoted it the wrong way. He had no understanding of the scripture. So I'm gonna correct that as well. This is Romans chapter 9 and verse 3. It says, "For I could wish that myself were accursed for Mashiach, for my brethren and for my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites." So Paul was saying he wished he was accursed for his brothers who are Israelites. All right, it says according to the flesh. All right, so it's not a spiritual thing. It's gonna be a fleshly people who are Israelites. It says, "To whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of Yahweh and the promises." All right, so that's who Paul was talking about, man. The Israelites, man. He was even letting you know that he was an Israelite. All right, you have no understanding of what you're reading. All right, you come up with your own doctrine, man. All right, there's no new doctrine out there, man. The scriptures haven't changed. The Lord has not changed. You know, I'll pull this out and then I'm gonna go ahead and close this thing on up. All right, this is the book of Romans, chapter 3, and verse 3. It says, "For what if some?" It says, "So what for?" It says, "For what if some did not believe? Shall the unbelief Shall that unbelief make the faith of Yahweh without effect?" It says, "Yahweh forbid. Yea, let Yahweh be true, but every man a liar, as it is written." All right. It says that thou be justified by they may justified in their sins and might overcome when they are judged. All right. So your belief doesn't mean a damn thing to us, man. We really don't care if you believe or not. All right, it's not going to change our faith in Yahweh Shai. It's not going to change our faith in us being Israelites, to know who we are. All right, you have no type of history behind you. You don't look up words. You have no understanding of these scriptures. All right, all right. Yes, we believe through faith that the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man, are and also the confusion of faith, all right, are the Israelites, man. All right, when I say confusion of faith, because it goes by the seed of the father. All right, whoever your father is, that's who you are. So, hey, you can have a so-called white man, you know, but he got the spirit of Jake. All right, his father's Jake. You know, guess what? He's an Israelite. All right, you got a so-called, white man again. I say his father goes back to Israel. He's a Jake. If the father goes back to the 12 tribes, he's a Jake. So let me let's make that perfectly clear too. This is not a skin color contest. It's about the spirit. If you have no spirituality, everything you said was vain. I ain't incorrect, man. You know. Hey, so Lord willing, that's edified to the body. Hey, with that, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakodash. The one that's our apostle, Elder Great Millstone, the teacher, we will. Peace, blood, and safety, and hopefully pushing this truth week in, week out. In sincerity, charity, and love, and the spirit of how about you, shout out to all the four corners of the earth. With that, I want to say, Shalom.